Alright guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on what's really been happening since I was consistently making YouTube videos before. What's happening right now in this transition phase, if you call it that, and what the plans are for the future, because it's very exciting. It's going to be a massive change, and yeah, I want to document it. So I'm currently in England, and in 2 weeks, or 1.5 weeks now actually, I'll be going to Houston, Texas. And the goal is really to go all in on bodybuilding. Build the best physique I can, compete next year, build my business. On that front, I have 1 year to really make it. If I don't like, get some serious progress, financially and also just in the bodybuilding space, I don't know what's gonna happen then. I don't really have an option, so I need to figure it out, and that's really the position I'm in. So just to go back and say what's happened since my last set of YouTube videos, I have graduated university, so UCSB, did a philosophy major, and I did it in 3 years. So all of my friends are still in university. I didn't know anyone else that did it in 3. But the reasoning for that is I realized my degree didn't really have any practical application for what I wanted to do, in the sense that I knew, I couldn't say exactly when, but during university pretty early on, I had a sense that, I want to do bodybuilding. I want to have my own business then, and that's what I want for my life. So the philosophy degree was great in the sense, I'm learning interesting things, critical thinking, writing essays, and learning a lot. But in the sense, is that benefiting what path I've decided to go on? Not really. So yeah, I was doing bodybuilding on the side. Not on the side, it's almost like doing 2 full-time jobs, if you want to call it that. But building a business as well, I started at the beginning of my 3rd year, or like in the summer before that. And yeah, doing a business, content creation, bodybuilding, and full-time university. It's just like, you can't do, for example, the business all in the sense that, I have other things I need to do. So finishing early for me is key to be able to just go all in on what I really want to do. That's the way it works in America, or the university I went to, is you have to get a certain number of units. So per quarter, or it's like per term in England, I took more units per quarter. So I took like 4 classes, sometimes even 5 per quarter, instead of like the normal, which is like 3. Yeah, I did a bodybuilding show. I mean, those are the 2 main events I'd say since the last set of YouTube videos. I've kept obviously doing my bodybuilding 100%. I've done my bodybuilding show, and I graduated university. Life outside of college, I've talked to a couple people now in between, and they all say, oh well, when I left college, that was like the hardest. The year or 2 after was like the hardest, because, well, it's like you lose all structure. You lose a sense of this routine that has been ingrained in you since a super young age. You lose a sense of, before, your life is being guided for you. Now it's really up to you to figure out exactly what to do. And sure, some people, they just go straight into a job. I mean, the job market, I talk to my friends, is pretty brutal right now anyways, but straight into a job. And then, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you're in an institution and you get like basically homework, to do, and you're working during the day like you would with classes. So it's pretty similar, but for someone trying to do a business, it's completely different. And yeah, I mean, it was a pretty big shock to the system, because you need to make your own routine. You need to come up with your own why. Like, why are you doing things? What's your vision? What goals are you setting? In what time period? And yeah, with your own business, you need to learn tons of things that you were never taught in education. You need to learn about sales. You need to learn about marketing. You need to learn about the system that you're delivering your product or service through, and how to make your customer happy. You need to constantly be improving in all areas. And there's no one there to give you a deadline. There's no one there to tell you, do this, do that. You know, no one is coming to save you. You know, you got to figure out yourself. People can, you know, maybe sympathize. People can give you advice. People can, you know, support you. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you need to be producing the results. And yeah, it's a pretty. I'm not complaining. That's the reality of the situation. But there's one thing, kind of like being in university and thinking, yeah, I'm going to do that afterwards, and then actually being there, because in university, there's all these different metrics for you to base your worth in a sense on, or, you know, like gauge how well you're doing. You know, if the if my if my course load was really difficult and the exams and midterms finals are super hard, well, I'd feel good though because I'm progressing in my bodybuilding, like always. So that was always like a bedrock for my progress and like feeling good and things like that. If you're stressed out on the business, well, your content's doing good, or if your content's not doing good, then the business is going well. You know, as in there's all these different like facets where it's not just like you're doing one thing and you're kind of like worth is tied down to that. You know, you can like gauge your worth in like a bunch of different areas. I'll just sit down for a second, carry on the video that way. So currently in this transitioning phase, as I'm saying, and there's been a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, and yeah, I'll just delve into them. So the positives is I'm, you know, back in England after 2 years, and it's great seeing my family. I really didn't see them as much in university, obviously being on the other side of the planet, and catching up with friends. Like literally, I haven't seen again. I've talked with my mates online, but it's literally not seeing my boys in years. So that's great, you know, on that aspect. I was training at the start. You know, my girlfriend was here for a month. She's back finishing her last year at university, so doing long distance. Um, but there were some things that I need to get tested. You know, one was a GI map. I was having some like pain, like going to the toilet. You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking there's got to be something wrong, like, you know, with the GI stuff. And got the results back, and turns out like there are a couple markers off. You know, it's called like leaky gut, SIBO, and like something to do with H. pylori, maybe a couple of other things. But I need to get antibiotics for that. You know, to fix it's called your gut health, and that means that, you know, I can't do my proper off season for a couple more months. You know, I got to stay, you know, just not pushing anything, and that's weird for me as a guy that, you know, I love progression. I love beating my own numbers. I love seeing visible progress, you know, and to know that like I'm basically not going to be making that much progress for however long is, you know, a mental roadblock in a sense. But I know it's for the long term, and, you know, you got to push past it to see the long term results. And I also got gyno surgery, so it's been just over 4 weeks since getting that surgery. I noticed it during my last year at UCSB, and it really wasn't that bad. But doing bodybuilding and knowing it's probably only going to get worse, and not wanting to be that guy on stage, or just that guy with like mad gyno, like I figured I'll get it sorted out while I'm in the UK. You know, I thought it's cheaper here. I thought while I'm not in the gym, because obviously I'm recovering, I can spend more time with my family while I get to. And yeah, I mean, that's good. The process is done, and you know, I'm actually back in the gym again. But again, like having not taken time off the gym anywhere near that long since like 15 years old, it's pretty crazy. You know, like I literally never miss a gym ever for any reason. Um, but to literally not be able to go to the gym, it's different. You know, my days are spent differently, in a different kind of headspace, and again, just of my situational differences from being in university versus outside of university, everything changes. So being outside of university, I mean, it's completely different. Being alone has taken some getting used to, and there's a bunch of positives, but there are also negatives which, you know, you need to overcome. I was so used to being with my girlfriend, you know, all the time, and when you're with someone else, obviously, you know, your mental bandwidth is limited in the sense where you're obviously caring about someone else's needs, and, you know, also just being in university, you have the external work that's being set, and, you know, your focus is just limited to what it is now, where there's a lot more bandwidth, and you know, one thing one thing that's been great is my curiosity. I feel like is, but I've always, you know, my mum always told me I was a curious kid, and I feel like curiosity is something where it's a it's a strength of mine. In a sense, you know, you kind of have what you don't, you know, and I've had it, and I think that's good because when I am curious to know something, I will have like a burning desire to figure it out, and you know, that's great in a business sense or bodybuilding sense or you know, just a life sense. You know, if you have a problem and you're dying to find the solution, you're probably gonna find it, you know, or you're gonna make sure you find it instead of just people have a lot of problems where they're not curious to find out the answer, then they're not really gonna go and search for it. So having that is definitely been good, and I've needed it because now, where there's no external pressures, as I said, I need to set my own hours, and I struggle with that a lot in the first couple of weeks because on a day-to-day basis, it's like, what do I do? Like, I know I need to move the needle forward, but how do I set up a routine in the sense that everything is being ticked? You know, all the boxes are being ticked. I'm moving the needle forward every single day, and yeah, I mean, you run into deeper questions which every human being needs to answer. You know, like, what do you think is success for you? You know, under what time frame? You know, for me, I've decided that in these next couple years, I want to go all in on bodybuilding. And so for me, success is obviously progressing in that field, you know, winning competitions, you know, becoming a professional, moving up the ranks, you know, and for lots of different, but that's only the short run, you know, you need to obviously, in doing that, have considerations for after the fact, you know, are you keeping your health in check, you know, how are you going to financially provide for yourself afterwards, and how are you going to have your work now compound instead of like, imagine you work for something and like you can't use that for later on in your life. Like I know for a fact, obviously your physique, everyone's physique after their 30s probably goes down, you know? And so the work that's done on my physique, yes, it will go away. But if I can create value from it, you know, then I can use that forever, you know? So it's about, you know, it's not what you're doing, it's about like how you're using what you're doing. And yeah, questions like, I was reading Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, and like understanding the why behind online coaching, you know, like thinking real hard, like, why am I doing this? You know, obviously money is an answer for anyone starting a business, but deeper than that, you know. And you know, I was thinking about like a mentor that really helped me when I was struggling, and how, you know, this is a rugby coach, you know, back in secondary school when I was going through a really tough time, and how much, you know, caring and like giving me some structure and like going to those 7 a.m. sessions just with me and, you know, putting in effort. I mean, that has changed my life, you know, like 4 years later, and I'm still going strong. And it's like, if I could, you know, do that, you know, to multiple other people, I mean, I feel like that is a difference that I'll be proud of making in the world, you know, because it's such an interesting question. Like, what do you want to work on in your life? You know, you need to make money, you know, providing a service or, you know, product to the world. You know, how do you make the world, how do you provide a service so good, which is obviously, you know, is gonna be bought, and supposedly then providing value to the world. But you know, there's tons of ways in which people have services that are bought, but is that providing value to the world? Like, you know, is selling heroin providing value to the world? No. But there's also jobs where, you know, you're providing value to the world, and that's great, but what if you don't care at all about it, you know? For me, if I was a doctor and I was making good money, and if supposedly I'm you know, I'm helping people, obviously, you know, I go to medical school and I learn way more about, you know, the particular field that I'm doing, and then, you know, I'm in a, you know, lab, or I'm, you know, working on patients. Yeah, I'll be providing, if I was good at it, I'll be providing, you know, service and benefiting the world because of that. But I don't care about being a doctor. I have no desire, or progress in that dimension wouldn't actually make me happy. So it's not even just about being able to come up with a service in which you can get money for, you know, and obviously, you know, it's a privileged position to be able to say that. I understand that, but it's more like, if you could, right, what service would you offer to the world which like, actually means something to you? And also, like, in your life, like, for example, bodybuilding, the progress in that, you know, gaining more muscle, and, you know, losing more fat, prepping for a show, you know, and beating my numbers in the gym, you know, that is progress, but that matters to me because I care about it. But for someone else, they could do exactly the same thing and they couldn't give a single, they couldn't care, you know what I'm saying? So no one can answer that question for you. and really trying to think hard about, you know, what do I want for my life. You get one shot, you know, and for all we know. So what is success for me? Why? And you know, what can I do to basically make that happen? So that kind of leads on to the next step, which is um, figuring out that Houston is a spot. And so my rationale for that is my whole entire life, basically, doing bodybuilding, I haven't been around people who are doing it for a living, or you know, doing it full time, or like being much ahead of me. And I want to be in an environment where there's motivated people ahead of me, you know, making a living off it. And I know I'll do well. I know my nature. I know I'm a competitive person. I know that I'm very passionate, and I know that if I was around the right people, I could help them and they could help me. You know, so um, it's almost like, you know, imagine you wanted to do tech, you go to Silicon Valley. You know, if you want to do movies, you go to Hollywood. You know, for me, I think that Houston is the best spot right now for me to go to progress my bodybuilding, be around people that are like-minded and a bit ahead of me. You know, so I can catch up. So having a vision, going all in, and doing your best to, you know, make a dream a reality. That is what I want to do, and I want to document it, because imagine I get to the end result, and that's great, but I want to have the story about how I got there and how I was in a position right now where it's not certain. There is no certainty. Nothing is guaranteed. I want to have that progression of not only myself, you know, as a person, but like, you know, that story somewhere that's documented. And I think that's cool, and hopefully it can help people on a similar journey, or it can just inspire or educate or help someone trying to do something similar, or you know, wanting to improve their lives, basically. So that's really at the core of what I want to do, just improve my life. um and yeah, doing this video is one more problem I'm tackling, of trying to figure out the right medium of content to do. You know, I think I haven't found my sound yet, and I think it's key to try and be yourself. I want to. This to me seems like the best medium in which I'm actually being authentic myself. People always say be authentic, but I think what authenticity means is what medium can you express yourself and provide the most value in, you know, consistently. Because it's not about doing it one time. You know, you need to be able to figure out a way to consistently make content which is valuable, helps people, and you enjoy, and hopefully in a way also makes you stand out from other people. You know, people talk about personal brand a lot these days, and yeah, I mean, it's like the idea of not wanting to be a commodity. You want to be able to stand out, and obviously a way that we obviously all stand out is no two humans are the same. But that's true. But if you're trying to market yourself in the same way everyone else is, I was reading this book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's a red ocean. You know, everyone's doing that. So I was reading another book, you know, Zero to One by Peter Thiel, and he talks about how you don't want to have competition. Like, sure, in bodybuilding, I'm gonna have competition, but you know, why can't, in my business sense, or you know, on social media, why can't I differentiate myself, because I am a different person? You know, I might be competing in the same thing. I'm putting myself in that box, but outside of that, I don't need to be in a box. And just finding a way in which I can create that content in the methods I just said, I think is key, and everyone needs to figure out as well. You know, business is going online, and you're probably going to fall behind if you don't figure out some way you can do it. But if there's a way to do it, you know, for you, you'd already figured it out. You know, someone already told you. You know, you need to. Everyone's different. You know, everyone has a different way of expressing themselves. They need to find a different medium to find out the way to express themselves, and no one can tell you that for you. You need to try and feel for yourself. You know, does this work? Do I like this? You know, what are the results like? Can I improve it? And this is my attempt at doing that. So, anyways, I hope that gives some insight into, you know, what the plans for the future are. You know, what I'm doing right now and what I've been doing, and I'll try and keep these videos coming out more consistently. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.